Welcome to It's a Woman's World, a show which looks at any and all topics under the sun from a woman's point of view. Hosted by Ali Naithani and co-hosted by Jamila Pettiford.
First of all, I'd like to introduce you to Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. Welcome.
Thank you, Ali.
Yes, and she is a chef. She's a founder of Amalia, and Amalia is thought of as a Latin gourmet with a cultural flair, and we're going to find out a little bit more from you on what that means and the great work that you do.
Absolutely.
And then our second guest today is Jamila Pettiford. Welcome to the show, Jamila.
Thank you, Ali.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm so. It's so wonderful to be here with you. As many of you, our viewers may know, I hosted the show with Candy Pettiford, who happens to be Jamila's mother.
Yeah.
So it's a great honor to be with you today.
You too.
Thank you. And you are a social worker. Mm-hmm. You've done a lot of work in the community.
Yes.
You consider yourself a builder of the community.
Yes, absolutely.
You're also an entrepreneur, and that's actually something both of you have in common. And we will get into that. I want to hear more about that and the great work that both of you are doing. And I think I found just talking to you in the short time that we've had together, just the inspiration that you bring to women to get out there and go after your passions and do the things that you love doing. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with some food. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds great. Wonderful.
Well, so Amalia, why don't you tell us about just a little bit about your the company that you have and what you do, and then tell us about the dish that you're going to cook today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again. My name is Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, and I was born and raised in Guatemala. I am chef-founder of Amalia, Latin gourmet with a cultural flair. I specialize in Latin American and Spanish cuisine and culture. And within that, I do a variety of things. I do corporate events, social events, private events. I also do menu design and planning for marquee events and galas. I also teach at various cooking schools in the Twin Cities, and I have been doing that for a number of years.
Wow. Wonderful.
And I also do recipe development for major companies in the United States.
Okay. So now, was food always your passion, or how did you start your organization?
Food has always been my passion. I have been cooking since I was 8 years old. Okay. I learned the ropes of the kitchen, if you will, with my grandmother, who was a great cook. My mother was a fantastic cook as well. Little did I know back then that what I was learning was skills for life, and also something that I developed a passion for. I am very inclined to healthy eating, fresh eating, thanks to them.
Wonderful. And on Amalia's website, she talks about being in the kitchen with her grandmother, and and I believe you talk about the smell of bananas. And you know, as I read that, it made me think of how our senses are stimulated. Yes. But that must have evoked, I mean, just such great memories for you, and you know that as you described that, it just came alive for me when I read that. So your grandmother really had a big influence on you.
Absolutely. And up to today, I still remember the dishes that she cooked from scratch and with very little equipment back then.
Right.
She didn't have an electric stove. She didn't have any of the modern kitchen appliances and conveniences that we have today, but she always managed to produce fantastic food. So, you know, I'm very inclined to cooking as well from scratch because of her. She was my major inspiration, absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, okay, let's get started. So tell us, what are you going to make today?
Today I'm making a dish from my homeland, Guatemala, and it's called Jocom. And Jocom comes from the Mayan highlands in the western region of Guatemala. This is a green stew that you can make with pork or chicken, and it is very easy to make. My cooking philosophy is twofold. Practical and healthy. Okay. And this is both practical and healthy.
I like that, Jamila.
I do
How about
too.
you?
That is awesome. Yeah. Practical and healthy.
Sounds good to me.
So why don't we start, and I can show you the ingredients in this dish. They're all available in the grocery stores in the Twin Cities. So there's nothing that is foreign here to most people. we have cilantro, and this is a bell pepper that has gives a lot of flavor to this stew, but not heat.
Okay.
This is a poblano pepper, which I happen to like a lot because it has a little bit of heat, but also has very different flavor from the bell pepper.
Okay.
Then we have a different kind of pepper here, and this is a serrano. And a serrano is on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the hottest, probably a 7 or an 8. And then, of course, if you cook with the seeds and the veins, that has a lot more heat. So if you take those off, then you have still some heat, but lots of flavor left in the pepper as well. You can use serranos, you can use jalapenos, you can use bird's eye chilies. Any chilies of choice would work really well. Over here we have tomatillos, and tomatillos are very acidic, and they are the cousins of the tomatoes, and you have to remove this papery husk here to cook them. Then you wash them, and they are delicious. This, I mentioned, this stew is green. As you see, all the ingredients on my tray are green for a reason, because the stew is green. And then the last ingredient, fresh ingredient, is going to be green onions, which also have a green part to them. Then we also have corn tortillas, and this is for thickening the sauce, because this is a stew, and stews in Guatemala are thick. Right?
So that's actually going to go into the stew.
Yes, yes, and I will show you the steps to put it together. So the other part of the recipe, we have chicken, and this also can be made with pork, or it can be made with any other meat of your choosing. And also we have an onion, and we have garlic. So those are all the ingredients, and of course the seasoning, salt and pepper. I call those the magic.
The magic.
The magic seasonings, because you can produce the best food if you don't take the time to taste it and to season it with salt and pepper. That can be the magic touch that might be missing in a great dish. So how do you put this dish together? Well, really easily. So the reason I have separated these two ingredient groups here is because this is the way you want to cook them. All right, that's the easiest way. So we have the chicken, we have the garlic, and we have the onion right here, and I have cooked that already ahead of time, and that's what's sitting over here right next to me. Those are chicken thighs, which are best for stews because they hold well during cooking. They also have a little bit more fat, so they are more tasty. Another added bonus to that is that they are less expensive. You don't want to use a chicken breast or a more expensive cut of the chicken for this kind of stew, because you don't need to. And secondly, a chicken breast is very stringy, it doesn't have a lot of fat, so it would fall apart in the stew. So that's another reason for using chicken thighs. And I just happen to love dark meat to begin with.
So also?
I do too. Yes, thighs are my thing.
Yeah, you like that.
That's right.
So I have removed the skin, I have removed all the visible fat, and one key item here that I did not mention yet is chicken stock. And this is fat-free chicken stock that it's a base for any kind of cooking, whether you're cooking stews or rice or whatever. But basically, there are two major parts to this stew making. One part is cooking the chicken with the garlic and onion on the side, on one pot. And then the other part is cooking all these ingredients in a different pot. And then at the very end, we marry the two. All right? The reason we want to do that is because the chicken takes longer to cook. But we also want to keep them separate, because otherwise at the very end we have to fish out some of the ingredients, and it's easier to keep them separate and then just marry them at the end. For blending purposes, it's nicer to have them separate as well. All right? So I have the chicken going here, and I have cooked it ahead of time. I put on some gloves, and then I took it apart, removed the bones, and I sort of shredded it a little bit, right? So it's a little bit rustic in there. I have also separated the onions and the garlic. I took it out of here because this is going to be blended with the rest of the ingredients. All these ingredients have been cooked also ahead of time here with some chicken stock, and this is what they look like. So initially, the volume is very large, and then as they cook down, it's basically, it sinks. So it sinks into almost flat.
Right.
You can see the tortillas. You
Yep.
can see most of the ingredients
Sure.
there.
Okay.
So what do you do with this?
Okay.
So I have the onion and the garlic from the chicken.
Okay.
In the Guatemalan kitchen, we use everything.
Okay.
All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is I am going to use this wonderful immersion blender. If
Yes.
you don't have one of this, of course, you can use a conventional blender
Okay.
at home. But basically what you do is
And that immersion blender, that's a wonderful way to just not have to transfer to a standing blender. Is that right, Amalia? That you can just use it as you did.
absolutely, and that is one of the reasons why I use it, because it saves time and effort, and I don't have to wash that big blender.
Yes.
Yes.
More practical, the better.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to tell our viewers. We've got Amalia standing on a little riser here. She probably looks like she's towering over both of us, huh? But that we did that so she could really get in with there with that blender. So
Absolutely. So
thanks for.
I must look like I am much taller than you are, but in reality, I am much shorter. All right, so the next step is we are going to combine
Okay.
the sauce with the chicken and the remaining stock. And then we are going to season. You can see that this
Very
is...
nice. Look at that beautiful green color.
Beautiful.
Oh.
Smells
It
delicious.
sure does.
And now we are going to add what I said is the magic
The
ingredient.
magic is going in. Do you like salt in your food? You like
Yes,
Salt,
Salt and pepper,
plenty
oh,
of pepper. And this too, Ali, by the way, it's in my upcoming cookbook, Amalia's Guatemalan Kitchen,
Wow.
which will be out at the end of August.
Nice.
Yes.
So what I am going to do next, I am going to do something very important.
Okay.
That is tasting. the dish,
Tasting.
right?
Yeah.
And it tastes great. I think it needs a little bit more salt,
Okay.
a little bit more pepper.
That's really important in cooking, isn't it, Amalia? The taste part of it. Like you think you add everything in, but before you serve a dish, you really need to check it and taste it.
Absolutely. The stew is a little bit acidic.
Okay.
It has a little bit of kick because of the serrano
Okay.
and because of the poblano. It has a lot of an herb flavor from the cilantro, and it is just fantastic. There's an
Okay.
explosion of flavors happening there. If you want to make it thicker, you can cook it longer.
Okay.
So you can reduce the liquid another 10-15 minutes. Or the other thing you can do is you can add more tortillas to it, soaked ahead of time in a little bit of hot water,
Okay.
and then taking it that way. So
Okay.
there's different ways of doing it. How do you serve this? In Guatemala, traditionally, we serve it with rice, Guatemalan rice, which is a vegetable rice.
Okay.
Because the saucy dishes go really well with either potatoes or rice. And also the rice is a tongue pacifier, that it provides a nice break in between spicy bites.
Okay.
So let me show you how I like to present it. So I have this dish over here with a little bit of rice in there.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I am going to put some chicken on top. Get some really good parts here.
Oh, so use the mold to keep everything together. So you know
Yes.
those fancy restaurants when you see them plating the
Yes.
food. This is the secret.
This is the secret.
Yes.
Absolutely. So this is one way of presenting it. Traditionally, this is served in earthenware bowls.
Earthenware bowls. Okay.
With the rice on the side. Another traditional dish that comes with it is little tamales made of corn masa. And again, that is another way of providing a nice break in between the spicy bites. Okay, so what do you do next? I like to garnish everything I do.
Okay.
Okay, and the rule of thumb is when you garnish a dish is that you want to use some of the same ingredients that are already in the dish. So we have lots of cilantro there.
Okay.
And then what I am going to do is I am going to unmold this very carefully so that the rice stays on the bottom.
Beautiful.
Just beautiful.
Look at the color on that. And what is in the rice? I see some red and yellow.
The
Carrots, it looks like.
Guatemalan rice, vegetable rice, is made with red bell peppers, tomatoes,
Okay.
chicken stock, carrots, onions, and garlic.
Oh, that looks fabulous.
And there you have it.
Wow.
Delicious.
Very delicious. Wow.
Well, Jamila, I think we need to taste this
I think we
beautiful
need to
dish.
taste
So,
it.
Amalia,
Absolutely.
would you please allow
Absolutely.
us to taste this? Wonderful.
Be happy to. So
Should I hold it, bring it up here, and hold it for you? And would that be easier? Or
we can taste
you
from
wanna
here.
take
Or we
it from
can taste.
there? Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Sure,
You know
sure.
what? It might be better to taste it from there because it has rice.
Okay.
So, and then I'll just give you a sauce at the very end.
Yeah.
How is that?
that'd be Great.
Thank you.
You know, color makes such a difference.
It really
doesn't
does.
It?
It just helps to bring out the flavor. Thank
for you.
Thank you.
And here is a fork. I've got
Thank you very
those.
much. All
So
right.
is this a dish that you make for your family often?
Yes.
Neil? Okay.
I make many of the Mayan stews which have different ingredients and they have different textures, different colors as
Okay,
well.
okay.
This is one of my favorites because it's not only delicious, but it's also very easy to make.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, let's see here. Oh,
So I am going to
look at the color.
give
on it.
myself some as well. You tell me what you think. Not too spicy for you?
Just right. And you know, I can taste the tortilla. I can taste the corn tortilla. It's very delicious.
It's got that meld of the flavor, Amelia, like you talked about with the pepper and the
Oh, yes.
cilantro. But best about it just tastes so fresh.
It is so fresh.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. Very good.
Very good.
Now, what kind of rice do you use? I
This
know
is white, long
just
grain
white,
rice,
long
nothing
grain
fancy.
rice. Okay.
And the reason I like to use this is because it cooks very fast.
Okay.
So you can make this rice in 15 minutes,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
Takes no time.
Okay. And how much oil is there oil in this recipe?
There is no oil,
No oil.
in the stew. There's oil in the rice.
Okay.
So in the rice there is canola oil, which is a very healthy rice. Excuse me, oil as well. There is a sautéed in. There's a sauté of onions and garlic, and the bell peppers and the tomatoes, and
Okay.
then you add the rice to that. You make a nice pilaf, and then you add the chicken stock. You cover it, and then you leave it alone for 15 minutes, and then you have wonderful rice.
Okay. So really, from a health benefit point of view, there's not a lot of oil in this. I mean, it's just like you said in the rice. We're using a lot of the fresh flavors, which really, heighten the experience because you're getting the flavor in your mouth, not from like the fat. It's all from these fresh ingredients.
Absolutely. There's also a way to make this the vegetarian way.
Oh.
So, there's always a way to make most dishes vegetarian. And of course, we would leave out the chicken.
Okay.
We would leave out the chicken stock and substitute it with vegetable stock.
Okay.
Instead of the chicken, to substitute the protein, we can do fava beans, we can do garbanzo, and we can do a lot of the non-animal proteins.
Okay, so I'd say this is a great recipe to give it a try. I think if you're a beginning cook, it's a wonderful one to try to put together.
Absolutely.
Okay.